We see so many people that on LinkedIn and social media seem to have everything together, and they, hit a 10 out of 10 and every success is a home run. But the reality is we do not post on LinkedIn and social media all of the things that we don't achieve. We typically don't post, hey, I failed an interview terribly and I didn't get that job or that board opportunity. So we only see the wins. And as a result of that, it creates this misconception that, we should be infallible. Currently, I serve as an independent director on two boards. First, the Tantalus Systems Board, which is publicly traded on the TSX under the ticker GRID. Tantalus serves utilities to support grid modernization and provide real-time data to manage the grid through smart meters and AI using analytics. I also serve on the Efficiency One board, and Efficiency One is a not-for-profit that basically transforms the way people and organizations use energy. So we help communities and businesses invest in energy efficiency to lower their bills and reduce overall carbon footprint. Previously, I have served as the vice chair on the Trent University Board of Governors, and also formerly as chair of the Durham College Board of Governors, as well as the chair of the College Employer Council Board, which serves the 24 colleges across Ontario. My background is primarily in IT. I'm the former head of IT and cybersecurity for Ontario Power Generation, and I previously built and sold 3 companies in the tech sector that, when I sold, were recognized by Microsoft as the top 5% of partners globally. I would say over 20 years ago, when I first learned about boards and the roles of boards and how they can serve institutions, I applied to the Durham College Board. And I had no governance experience and a really limited understanding of what good governance really meant, as well as differing between senior leadership and the role of the board. So my first interview with the Board of Governors, I failed the interview miserably. And what I learned from that, after seeking feedback from the chair, was I really needed to take a step back and actually learn some good governance principles. So I joined my kids' not-for-profit nursery school board, and that was my first opportunity to start to learn and differentiate the role between senior leadership and the role of the board. Thereafter, I started to get some courses in good governance, and that is what really allowed me to have the credibility to reapply to the Durham College Board, and was successful the second time. So I think, as anybody new starting out, they really need to understand where they need to begin. And it's coupled in education and good governance experience. But ultimately, it was my relationships that have led to every single board opportunity that I have been successful in achieving. 6 years ago, I joined Women Get On Board, and that is what has led me to my first 2 paid board opportunities. So making the jump from serving on volunteer and not-for-profit boards over to compensated boards. And that is all just really relationships, showing up to the events, making sure you're building meaningful relationships, and seeing where you can volunteer and serve other institutions. So that would be the first priority. Second, I would say, I mentioned it, gaining the education and experience. You need the credentials behind you in order to get onto a reputable board. And then finally, looking ahead. So know where you're headed in 2 to 3 years. Know where you want to go and what skills and experience and relationships you're going to require in order to be successful to get there. We see so many people that on LinkedIn and social media seem to have everything together, and they, hit a 10 out of 10 and every success is a home run. But the reality is we do not post on LinkedIn and social media all of the things that we don't achieve. We typically don't post, hey, I failed an interview terribly and I didn't get that job or that board opportunity. So we only see the wins. And as a result of that, it creates this misconception that, we should be infallible. So for me, what I have found most successful is leaning in. So putting my hand up, volunteering, saying yes to things that get me outside of my comfort zone, and attending the events, showing up, building relationships that are meaningful. And that all means prioritizing your time. So you need to carve out time in order to invest so that you can lean in and be very mindful of what you say yes to, so that the things that you do commit to, you do very, very well. So I would say, being visible isn't about self-promotion. I find as women, we tend to be very mindful about ego, and men seem to be able to lead with ego very well and self-promote, and it's not seen as a negative. Whereas as women, we tend to be socialized a little bit differently. So I think having the right mindset to know that self-promotion is not ego-led, and that you can be visible and put yourself out there without it looking like it's all about you. And so to do that well, it means for me, volunteering. So I will speak at events. I will agree to be on panels. I will sometimes just volunteer to support logistics. You don't always have to be on stage in order to be visible and in order to promote your brand. And then when you're in those rooms, using those opportunities to very mindfully connect with individuals. So for me, when I attend a networking event, I don't seek to hand my business card out to every single person in the room. Instead, I will seek out one or two individuals that I can genuinely connect with and build a more meaningful relationship. And I always start with listening and trying to see how I can serve others and how I can help support them in achieving their goals. And I have found that to be incredibly rewarding and very meaningful, and leads to much deeper connections and relationships. And then when there is an opportunity from someone in my network to facilitate an introduction, if I've already built goodwill with those individuals, I find that I'm far more successful. So those would be some of the tips. I would also suggest that, as I mentioned, you get some good governance expertise. I have my ICD.D. I got it through the University of Toronto's Rotman program. I found that incredibly valuable. I also found that it was a minimum requirement for many of the paid board opportunities. So making sure you have the education or credentials to back you up. And then finally, being sure that your LinkedIn profile and your CV is board ready. So one mistake that often is made in early board recruitment is that you just use your professional CV that you use to apply to any job. I have learned that you really do need to create a board CV. And if you've never served on a board, that can be really tricky because you don't have board experience to talk about, but you can translate your work experience to demonstrate how you've built that expertise in your day job and how it translates to the boardroom. And then when it comes to executive search firms, I never asked for roles. If I was at an event and I had an opportunity to meet somebody who was a recruiter, I always asked what boards they serve and what those boards were struggling with in terms of what experience they're seeking or expertise. And then I consider how I might be able to assist or serve. So I have found that it's far more meaningful in whether it's an individual or a recruiter, that you think of ways that you can offer value as opposed to asking something from them. Write articles for industry magazines. A lot of industry magazines will allow you to do op-ed pieces that, you're not going to get paid to do them, but it's going to get your name and your brand out there. It's going to build your credibility, and it will allow you to strengthen your CV and profile. The other hack that I do is send thank you cards. And I love to celebrate the success of others. So even if it's somebody I don't know or have never met, if I see something, especially women, just shining light, knocking something out of the park, I will just send them a handwritten congratulations card saying something, related to their accolade or their success, and toss it in the mail. And oftentimes I will hear back saying, oh, I received your card. We've never met. Let's do a virtual coffee. And that will also help you build out your sphere of your network in ways that are maybe outside of your day job or the other organizations that you serve. So one way is to use your current sphere of influence. So in your day job, if you meet lawyers or auditors or recruiters or HR firms, make sure that you're thinking about where you're headed and leveraging those relationships with the people that you work with already and those that know you and trust you and have a sense of who you are, because they likely have networks that also are interested in finding good directors for boards. And so use your current relationships. Don't forget about the auditors and the lawyers that you work with every single day. Make sure that they know what you're interested in and that you're seeking board opportunities, because they can be your greatest champions in terms of introducing you to other people. Certainly join groups. Women Get on Board has been transformational for me in building out my network. Attending the Chairs Forum, I've met some wonderful peers where we can share and learn from one another in a very safe place. And then the other thing I'll say that maybe is a little bit non-conventional is mentor others. So some of my greatest relationships and the champions for me have been people that I've mentored. And so I've mentored women for over 20 years. And some of those individuals have then succeeded me and moved on to other organizations or have relationships that can help facilitate introductions. And so by mentoring others, I have found by serving and volunteering, it has led to some of my greatest accomplishments and successes. One great example is I was just awarded last year Canada's Top 100 Most Powerful Women by WXN. Well, my mayor in my day job went and reached out to other people that I'd previously mentored, and he got over 35 testimonials to support my nomination, all unbeknownst to me. And so, by leaning in and by volunteering and serving and giving to others, that has built the relationships that have led to my success. And yes, of course, if you can find a mentor and someone who will sponsor you, that is incredibly helpful. But don't forget about extending a hand down to the generation that's coming behind you too.